Brandy Collinborn. I'm a furniture painter with Brushed by Brandy. I'm in Sacramento, California. If you guys don't already, I hope you'll go like my page at Brushed by Brandy on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much to Katie Clemente for inviting me on to come paint for you guys. So I was live with you yesterday and we put a base coat on this desk. So I showed you how I did my prep on it. And then I showed you the base coat. So that's where I am right now. I haven't done anything since that second base, or the base coat that I showed you guys. Tonight we're going to be putting a second coat on it. So what I did is I kind of laid out, this is the transfer that we're going to put on this tomorrow. I'll do this with you guys. But so I kind of laid out my transfer just to see if I liked my coloring on here. And I kind of like where it's going. I feel like I need to lighten up the top a little bit. But this is my second coat is my point when I can change my colors and really perfect them. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to work on this desktop with you guys and show you what I do for a second coat. But this is where I really want to get the blend nice and smooth. So we're going to work this top until it's nice and smooth. Tomorrow we'll come back and put this transfer on. But you can see where I got my inspiration from. I was a little all over the map with colors on this one. I wasn't really sure where I was going. I ended up back at the same colors that I thought I was going to use in the beginning. I just needed to mix them a little bit. So my colors are, I put out a materials list on this page last night. My colors are Dixie Belle Aubergine, which is a deep, deep purple. Dixie Belle Muscadine Wine, which is a burgundy red color. And then Dixie Belle Plum Crazy, which is a nice bright plum color. And then I came through and I did some mixing. And all I do, I don't measure my mixes. I know a lot of people do. So this is the aubergine and the muscadine wine I mixed together, and I got this nice rich burgundy color. It just really darkened up the muscadine wine a little bit, which is what I wanted. So this is probably 3 parts of muscadine wine to 1 part of aubergine in this bowl here. And then in this one, I mixed the Plum Crazy and the muscadine wine. And I got it, you know, it's not quite as pinky as the Plum Crazy can get. So now I really have 5 colors in a full range. I don't always mix colors. Sometimes I will blend them on the piece. I will by just brushing them together on my piece. But I went ahead and mixed some dishes of color. So I've got 5 colors, a full range in this color scheme to work with. I picture this desk kind of being a power desk, you know, where big decisions are going to be made. So I wanted it to be really, really kind of bold. So this was my color inspiration. You can see it's got the purples and the reds in here, and I pulled from there. So when this goes onto the top, I like where it's going. I do want to lighten this top up a bit while we're working on it tonight. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to move my paint too, because we're going to work this top. My brushes that I used yesterday, I'm going to use the same brushes I used yesterday. I put them in a Ziploc bag and I stored them in my refrigerator overnight. So a paintbrush will hold a lot of paint and I hate to waste it. So once I have a paintbrush that I know I'm going to be using again, I just store them in the refrigerator overnight. And that way I don't have to rinse it out and waste the paint that it's holding. Okay, so when I'm going to start a second coat, I start off with a sanding sponge. This is it's a 120 grit, but it's pretty worn, so it's probably closer to a 220 at this point. I'm going to brush my surface with my sanding sponge. I am not trying to sand this at all. I'm just trying to brush it to knock down any nubs, any particles of dust that might have got stuck in my paint. So I'm just going to do a single pass and brush this on. Make sure I get all my edges. Okay, so, you know, if you feel this with your hand, it really makes a big difference. It's such a simple step. People ask if you need to sand in between. I don't even consider that sanding because it's so simple, but it really makes a huge difference in the smoothness of your finished paint. So then I will take a damp rag. You can use a tap cloth too, and I'm just going to wipe away any dust particles that were left behind by that little sanding. This is just a cloth dampened with water, just wiping away the dust. Okay, blending on a big open surface like this can be a challenge because you can see all your transitions. They're all close together. When I first did this, I put my darker color towards the center. I'm actually thinking I'm going to reverse this. I think I'm going to put my lighter color towards the center and push the dark outwards. But this is my opportunity to make those changes. So I'm going to start with my lighter color. Actually, I'm going to start with this medium color. And I'm going to put a coat all around here. And then from that coat, I will start blending in the other colors. So I'm going to take my brush from this medium color that I used last night. I'm going to take my spray bottle of water. I'm just going to dampen my surface. I'm not trying to dilute my paint. This is just to lubricate my second coat. Okay, this is my mix of muscadine wine and aubergine. Got a little. You guys, my husband's here filming for me tonight because I'm doing this on a desktop. It's just easier to have a second person. So if you guys have questions, please come on and ask and he can relay them to me.
How do I get comments up if they're double tap?
Hang on one sec. Swipe to the left. Yeah, you're on. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The water just lets me work the paint a little bit better. Because I'm reversing the colors too, it also, you know, I want to make sure I'm getting good coverage over the darker color that's under here, especially in my center area here. Add a little bit more paint because it's getting a little thin. Okay, and I'm going to start thinning this as I come to these outer edges. And that's because this is where I'm going to start putting it into the darker color. And that darker color will fill in, you know, where this paint is getting a little thin. So a lot of water. This is a broad open space to be painting on. My piece has these little pecky cedar holes in it, you know, where, what are they, little fake wormholes or whatever. So I'm going to just use my brush tip to get paint into those. Okay. So I like that here. That again was my mix of muscadine wine and aubergine. Now I'm going to take my lighter color and I'm just going to hit the center of this a little bit. So this is only slightly lighter. It's only a, you know, one shade lighter, but once the paint dries, it doesn't take a big color difference to make a big impact. So I brush that horizontally and vertically, and now I'm just working those paint colors together. And this will be just kind of a highlight in the center of my desktop. Another little, there we go. Okay. I actually think I could lighten that even a little bit more. So I'm going to get my Pure Plum Crazy. Just a little bit of paint and lighten this highlight a little bit. Vertically and then blend it horizontally. Okay. So I like the center. Now I'm going to work my darker color into the outer edges. So I'm going to come in here with my Pure Aubergine. I'm going to get my brush, which was for the darker color that I used yesterday. And I'm going to come out here and start going around the desktop with the darker color. I'm moving quickly because this is a really open surface. I've got a lot of paint to work on here. And it, of course, starts setting up faster. My paint's going to start getting in my way. I should have like a side table out here with me. I want to keep this paint wet. Since I've got to keep working it, I need to keep my paint wet. Yeah. You know what these are from? These are from my bowls that I use for mixing, have old paint on them, and it gets the little particles in my paint sometimes. It looks crazy right now, you guys, but this is going to be really pretty and really dramatic. Okay, I'm not worried about my brush strokes right now. I will come back and I will clean those up. You can see if I just come back with a brushing all in one direction, it just really cleans up brush strokes. Okay, now I'm going to start working these paint colors into each other. Do not hesitate to just keep brushing the paint colors together. Alternate your two brushes. So I've got my brush for my darker color. Now I'm going back to the brush for my lighter color. They're going to mix on my brush. They're going to mix on my surface. Come nice and far in so I don't have a line where one stops and one starts. Now I'm going to come back with my darker brush. Okay, and then one thing I like to do at this point is I will come back. Hang on one sec, I need a brush. Let me find it. Okay, this is where I like to use a big oval brush. So I will come back with a totally dry brush. There's nothing on this. It's a dry, clean brush. I like the nice full brushes for this. And this is going to blend these colors together. It's going to get rid of any lines. I'm not adding any paint. I'm just using this to push these colors together. And come around. I don't want to have like this circle line here where it looks like one stops and one starts. That drives me nuts. Okay, and I'm only doing this one little section here because I want to work in small sections. Otherwise my paint's going to start setting up. So now I'll come do this portion here. This is my aubergine. I'm going to brush it into the mix that's in the center. This center is going to keep getting smaller and smaller with each color I add. So that was my darker brush. Come back with my lighter brush. I usually only try to work 2 colors at a time, so I'm going to darken these corners even more than they already are, but I don't want to do that yet. I need to focus on the 2 colors that I'm working with. My paint's starting to get a little sticky, so I just keep it wet. Okay, I like that little area. So my dry brush, once you start using it, it's going to start getting some paint on it. So I just keep a rag close by and I want to keep this brush dry. I don't want paint getting on it. If it's a big piece that I'm blending on, sometimes I will go through like 2 or 3 dry brushes, just keeping the brush dry. I'll bring back my lighter brush. Watching this edge too. How's that look on camera, you guys? Sometimes I use the camera like a mirror to see what it looks like. So far I've done that half. Now I'm going to come over to this side over here. See where I told you my paint was going to start getting in the way? My paint's in the way. And I need my water bottle. Don't need that one as much. Okay, I got one little corner here. I really need a table, huh? All right, I'm going to come back with my darker brush. Set my dry brush down. Come back with my darker brush. Add my darker color here. Only trying to do small areas at a time. If you go too large, it's going to get overwhelming. Your paint's going to start drying. I can already tell, like in the center, my paint's already drying. You guys, my husband's here tonight, so again, if you have any questions about, you know, the project, about my business, about anything, totally open to answering questions you guys might have. I might not be talking as much because this is a kind of a fast-paced step. I need to keep moving. Oh, I was looking for this one. Okay, my paint from the center is starting to dry. I need to keep that wet because I'm going to work this into the center. Carry that lighter color out a little bit. Around this corner. Like those colors are becoming one. There's every stage in between these two colors going on in my paint right now. Come back with my darker brush. I like to keep my outer edges true to the dark color, my inner edge true to the lighter color. Okay, so that looks really good. I'm going to come back to my dry brush, keeping it nice and dry. Brush those together. It actually looked better before my dry brush that time. Okay, so my last edge I need to work. I'm going to move my table a little bit. I got smart, you guys, and put this on my wheel dollies. You guys seen these? They're phenomenal, but they only work when you're working on a surface that doesn't have any lines or cracks in it. Otherwise, they get stuck. Okay, so I got this little quadrant here. I'm going to get this wet, get more of my dark paint. You guys, my 8-year-old Ashton is out here. Did you get your homework all done? No. Okay. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my lighter pink color. My brush is starting to get a little clean of that. Very little paint. A little bit goes a long way. And I'm going to carry this out to the edge. I'm going to be careful when you're spraying your water that you're not spraying out into places that you've already completed, because you will end up having to touch them up. They get watermarks on it. I do a lot of touch-ups. Okay. Center's getting a little dry. My brush is dragging. I'm trying to hold all these brushes up at the same time. Come back with my darker brush. Get rid of some of these transitions. Okay, so what I'm going to be left with is I'm going to be left with this nice contrast. The spot in the middle. I'm going to brush through these. A little bit of drag. It's really just keeping your paint wet, working the paint. This is why Dixie Belle does so well for me, because it has a nice long open life. There's a lot of paints that you can't work for this long. And when you want a blended look, a long open life is really important. So that goes back to just keeping in mind what are the best tools for your project. I'm just kind of going back over everything because I want it all to be really seamless. This is a back and forth. It's not a single step and one and done. Okay, I'm going to come back with my dry brush that I'm going to dry off on my apron right now. I'm using a soft hand right now, a really soft hand, to just drag this through the colors. Working my way around the table. I like this edge right here, so I'm not going to touch that. Okay. Very soft hand here. I'm just kind of erasing my brush strokes that I see with a very, very, very soft hand. Keeping my brush nice and dry. Okay. I can't tell how it looks on camera. Now what you're probably seeing is some of these areas are drying and some are still wet. So it's gonna look like a color difference. All right, I told you I was going to darken my corners a little bit, so I'm going to come back. This is Dixie Belle Midnight Sky, which is a soft black. You can almost lean towards a midnight blue. And I'm going to work this into my aubergine here. I'm just going to use paint out of my paint lid. Again, keeping my paint nice and wet, and I can work it into that dark purple. And this just adds it's going to look like shading when it dries. If I just add a little bit of water, it kind of reactivates the aubergine too. So I don't need to get a brush back out for that. And I'm just going to do the corners so they look, a little aged. It's a very subtle difference, but it'll make a big impact. We're going to do this one. These are still wet, so I'm going to catch these before they dry. A little bit more of my dark paint. Does this look crazy, you guys? You guys are supposed to tell me if I'm totally botching this. I question my work all the time. Confidence is probably my biggest struggle. I don't always see what everybody else sees, and I wonder what people think of it. Come over here and do this corner. So then, when I carry this dark down from here, and then it's going to get light again as you get towards the floor.
Regina says she loves it.
Thank you, Regina. Not too crazy. Thank you. I need a little bit more purple paint because this corner's kind of dry. So I've got my purple brush, some water. Apparently I need a third hand. Okay, and I'm going to get this corner coming back out. These colors aren't for everyone. I said on my video yesterday, this is a customer. I've done her whole bedroom set now. She loves everything purple. Each piece that we've done has been just a little bit different than all the others, but in the same color family. And it's kind of created a really cool really cool look in her room. So we've done 2 dressers, a vanity, a nightstand, and then I have this desk and a bed frame. And she kind of just has told me, like, keep it in the purples, and otherwise I can do whatever I want. And those are my best pieces, is when a customer just trusts me enough. They hired me for a reason, and they just trust me enough to let me do my thing, is when my pieces come out the best. I find when customers try to control the look too much, is when things don't come out as well. Over here needs some love. All right, I like this side. I messed it up with that touch-up. As long as I keep the paint wet, I can really keep working it. I can keep coming back to it. So this side's going to look a little bit wet. The center's already started drying, so I'm not going to start going into the center again. I'm going to come back with my dry brush. And I'm keeping clean by rubbing it all over my apron. I'm going to smooth out these corners a little bit. It's kind of like an eraser. It erases those transition lines. So I use this as my eraser. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. I don't want to mess with it too much. I can start pulling paint up if I do. I like where it is right now. I'm going to let this dry. So from here, I'll work the front of this a little bit with you guys. Let me get my paint back out again. Okay, so from here, I will start, I'm going to bring that dark black onto these corners here. So I'll start with that. This is the Dixie Midnight Sky. These wheelie dollies make it really nice because now I can just push my piece around. You guys, this drawer right here needs a repair. I'm painting with it anyways. It's a little wobbly. It basically needs one side of the drawer needs to be recreated. And that came to me like that. And I haven't done that part yet. So for this edge, I'm going to bring in, this is the Dixie Belle Aubergine. So I want these colors to carry down from my front, and then from here I can go however I want. This drawer is obnoxious, so I don't need to move to this side. Side's not broken. It doesn't have the rest of the drawer in there. It's out to be fixed, so that's why it's kind of pushing in right now. I really got good coverage with my first coat of paint, so the second coat is kind of just perfecting the blend of it all. So for here, I'm going to bring in some of this lighter color, and it's going to start fading into the lighter color ever so slightly on the front. This is my dark brush. I'm just going to brush them all together till this middle becomes one color that's a combo of the two, essentially. And then in the center here, I'm really going to lighten this up. Just a little bit in the center. I'm making this up as I go along. Bring that up a little bit. Just until it all, you know, all the colors are seamless. They just flow together. Moving this piece, and then over here I'm going to introduce some of that darker color. You guys, I paint with my drawers in when I'm doing a blended look, and then when I'm done, I will take my drawers out and I will paint the edge to match the rest of the piece. So you see my drawers in right now, I will take them out to touch it up. So I'm gonna darken that corner. Add a little bit more of the aubergine. So you can kind of see where I'm going. It's really just a back and forth. There's no, you know, tricks to this except a lot of water and keep the paint moving. So I think that's really pretty. So I won't keep you guys on, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to come down the legs on this, and then tomorrow when we come back, I'm going to add the transfer to the top, and then we'll clear coat that. I'm probably also going to use some gilding waxes here to accentuate some of these little medallions, and I might even put some leafing on this. So I will be back tomorrow for our transfer. Thanks guys, have a good night.